GT350, so it's, it has the 5.2 liter engine in it. And what's really cool about this engine, it has that flat plane crank design that Ferrari made famous, which gives it that unique sound. And as I was backing this in, you could hear the shriek.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like a Ferrari though. It has still have a Mustang sound to it.
Well, but that's a good thing, you know. The Ferraris got the shriek, and the Fords, I thought they always had a great V8, muscle sound. So it's kind of a combination of the two. You still got some bass from that American V8, but you get that, that treble, I call it, the shriek of the Ferrari design.
Yeah, so, Ford did a great job marketing flat plane crank, and you designed engines. What is a flat plane crank?
It has to do with, obviously, the crank design of the crank itself. But what's more important is why the flat plane. But the reason is it allows the engine to rev up quicker, right?
Yep.
Which means, and also you can turn higher RPM. So by going to that design, you can get some additional performance out of the engine. So that's what it's really all about, is not how the crank looks, but what does it give you? And the sound, the sound that the Ferraris were known for was just a product of that engine design.
Okay.
Corvette's gone to flat plane crank V8s also. Like Chevy, Ford's, some of the early ones, had some vibration issues, but I think that's all been resolved.
Okay, you drove this here, so did you feel anything that stood out for you when you're driving it?
I just grinned the whole way here. As I was playing with the buttons, and I put the dampers in the sport mode, and I felt it firm up.
Okay.
And fortunately, I was on a smooth part of 74, so that wasn't a problem. Then I flipped the switch for the sport exhaust, and I heard the rumble, and that made me grin even more. So if there's any vibration coming from the engine, I was too busy smiling to notice.
So you've owned Mustangs before, right? And you've tracked them as well. So why do people gravitate towards Mustangs for track cars? Because I see him even our friend Scott Shaver, he's a diehard Ford fan.
Oh yeah, he's had so many I can't even keep track anymore. And he has one of these as well, the red one. So number one, the affordability. I like that BMW M3. Mustangs are much more affordable. So before I had my first M3, I had 3 Mustangs.
Okay.
96 Cobra, all red. There was a 2000 GT 01 Cobra, which was the first one with independent rear suspension. And then the V6. There's no question about it. It's a lot of car for the money, because if you can't afford a Shelby, even a Mustang GT with a track package, or even the 6-cylinder Mustang, all of them, the 4-cylinder, they're all gonna make you smile.
Yeah.
Now they aren't very practical, obviously. You do have a trunk, but it's not very big. You do have a back seat, but it's not very easy to get in and out of. But you wouldn't buy a Mustang for that.
Yeah.
You buy it for what I experienced in a way here, and that's joy. At low cost.
Yeah, and what's the weight on this one?
Like all the cars,
they get bigger and bigger.
Like all the cars, they get bigger and bigger. Scott said to me one day, he goes, if it was about 7/8 of this size, it would be perfect.
Perfect,
yeah. And I remember once I saw a 67 Mustang parked next to a 2016, and I'd forgotten how small the 60s were, the Mustangs back then, and they were light. I looked it up later. And I think the 65, like the one I had, was around 2,650 pounds.
Yeah.
And this one, if I remember correctly, was 3,670.
Wow.
So roughly 1,000 more pounds. Now, why? Well, of course, we have a lot more safety built in. We've got a lot more features built in. And we've got a lot more engine.
Yeah.
And like us, the cars have gotten bigger. So, it's on the heavy side.
Yeah.
Your M3 is around 3,600?
Yeah, and I think that's too heavy.
And that's too heavy, right? Me, I like cars that are 3,000 pounds or less.
Yeah, especially when you go to the track, you're gonna go through tires and brakes.
Yeah, but I haven't said all of this. I was at Ozark International Raceway, and my good friend Chris from Kansas City was driving the latest version of this GT350, and it was amazingly quick. Now, he is a very, very, very skilled driver. He knows Ozark International extremely well.
Yeah.
He has more laps there than anybody but the owner.
Yeah, I think I put a lap of that on our channel too.
Yeah, check that out. And, I asked him about consumables, because typically with heavy cars, you're going to be going through tires and brakes. And he said, it's not as bad as I expected. And he had light cars for years. Porsche 944s, Boxsters, stuff like that. So for him to say that it's, not too bad at consumables tells me that, the suspension settings, of course, he's an extremely smooth driver, so he wasn't abusing the car.
Yeah.
But he said for the money, he goes, nothing can touch it. And he goes, I just love driving it. And again, he's even older than me, and he has driven even more cars than I have. So for him to say that means a lot. All those switches I was playing with, you can put it to quiet mode, normal suspension. Today is extremely hot and humid. Crank the air conditioning up. It's got an amazing sound system. So, back to earlier comments, it's not as practical as a four-door, but, it's totally a daily drivable.
Well, I can get that other four-door Mustang, right? That Mustang Mach-E.
Oh yeah. Okay. Well, that's for another. We're gonna cover that in another episode because I'm actually thinking about buying one of those. So with that.
Yeah. With that, my name is Jag.
I'm Boris.
And we'll see you later.
Bye.